Hi, it's Hope. Welcome to Bored Housewife of Silicon Valley. Title speaks for itself, does it not? I am writing in my blog today. I haven't written consistently in my blog since I started it, essentially, but I go through phases of wanting to use it and not, and so it's still up. But I am in a mood and I've decided to take advantage of that. I have just finished a bunch of books. I'm going to write a couple book reviews, have a good time. It's going to be very chill, but I figured you can come along with me. At some point I'm going to make myself a coffee or something, and we will talk through these books as I write through these books. Where do we start? Let's start with the one that I finished about 10 minutes ago. How about that? That is The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy, and this is I don't even know what you would call it, speculative something, a genre-bending page turner, a thrilling novel. That's what it is. I really wouldn't know where to categorize this book. It's got some kind of thriller light mystery-esque elements to it, but it also has some not of this world elements to it as well. It's not magic, but it's anyways, it is a hard book to put down, to solidify as a certain type of genre, and that is an interesting thing in itself. It follows three different characters. You have Elliot, Ben, and what is her name? Harriet. Elliot, Ben, and Harriet are essentially the main players in this book. Harriet is a cop, and Ben is a physicist, and Elliot is the son of two physicists who died early in the book. And it follows their story and how they are interconnected. Harriet goes into a bookstore, and buys this book, and in this book there's a little blurb essentially calling for help, saying somebody is out to kill me, essentially. And she goes off on this thing. It spirals into this big investigation, I guess. It's not as straightforward as that, and I don't even know that I'm giving a straightforward synopsis of the book, but it was interesting. Very Blake Crouch-esque in a way, and if you've read Blake Crouch and the bend that he has in his book and the trails that he takes, you might know where this one kind of goes. If not, then you go into it a little blind, because it doesn't really talk about that. It doesn't talk about what the thing is in here in the synopsis, so I'm not going to say. But it was interesting enough. I wouldn't call it a thriller, I don't think. But it does have a fun storyline, and I read it in less than a day. I started it this morning, and it's 1:30 and I am now done. So there you have it. This is going to be the first book review that we do. And here we go. Let's get the computer and get WordPress. I'm gonna have to look up my password. It's been that long. I haven't written on this blog since December 13th, 2022. I wrote a thing about Matthew Perry's memoir. Anyways, let's go to compose a new site, a new blog. All right, I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna put on some music, and I will be back to talk about the next book in a little while. These are very short little blog posts, so it shouldn't take that long. Okay, book 2, Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. This is a ghost story. I guess to put it very briefly, this follows Blanca, who has been a ghost for about 300 years or so, and these new people move into the monastery that she is haunting, and she gets involved in their lives. It's, as I was reading this and talking to my husband through it, essentially it's a horny ghost story, I guess. I will hopefully have some more insightful things to say in my blog post, but yeah, horny ghost story sums it up pretty well. And it was a fun little book to read. Again, quite small, didn't take very long to read. I read this because I swear I saw somebody who did a video for predicting the Women's Prize in Fiction long list, and they were raving about this book. And I had heard it talked about previously, but this, I can't remember who it was, and that's going to bother me. If I remember, I'll write it down somewhere. But they simply just adored this book, and I decided to pick it up because it was actually available to me at the library. I did not love it as much as she did, but that's okay. It's a book that I would not have picked up otherwise, and I'm glad that I did. So it's historical fiction. It follows this woman, this ghost, Blanca, and then a woman, George, and her lover. I hate that word so much. It makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. I can't believe I just said it. And her partner, Friedrich Chopin, who is the pianist, and George Sand is a writer. And it's just about their lives and how society views them, because it is a historical fiction. So they're, living in sin, and she dresses like a man, and so that's not acceptable in society. It's got some really compelling plot points, actually, I quite enjoyed. But the main character is Blanca, and how she as a ghost sees things. It's quite entertaining. That is what I'm going to write about next. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to say, but we'll slog through it and see how it goes. Book 2. Done. Excellent. It's a pretty short little blurb, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get back into the swing of writing things. I suppose I should mention that if you wanted a book with kind of similar tones and themes, possibly Maggie O'Farrell's A Marriage Portrait would be a good comparison. Obviously not in the ghost factor, but just in the main characters are similar in age when Blanca dies, and I believe the main character in The Marriage Portrait is about 15 or 16 years old ultimately, and just the expectation around women in society at that time. There I could kind of see a link there if you're interested in a comparison, although I wouldn't, say they're identical, but there could maybe be some similarities there. The next book that we're going to do, let's just grab the top one off this list, off this book. That stays. I just realized the book is holding up my iPad. We're going to do Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This was a book that I saw on several people's predicted Women's Prize in Fiction lists. And it did not make the list, but it is one that I was very compelled to pick up and read. And I am very glad that I did. It was an excellent time. This is about Tova Sullivan, and she is in her 70s, I believe, and she works at an aquarium as the custodial, sort of, a janitor, sort of, at the end. It doesn't seem like she does a lot, like the maintenance side. It's about cleaning the floors and stuff, but she kind of creates this relationship with an octopus that is there. His name is Marcellus, and Marcellus gets chapters in here, and it is utterly delightful. I loved it so much. He doesn't talk about he has a couple of very funny moments and lighthearted observations of humans and expectations, and it's really good. He does in fact have a critical part in this book because Tova's son went missing, And it has been, I guess, 30 years or so since that happened, and he is assumed to have drowned, which I'm hoping I'm not giving anything away. Yeah, okay, it's in the synopsis. And this octopus has some observations about what could have happened, and it's just a good little book. It's got a lot of found family in it, and dealing with age and loss and what that can do when you're feeling alone, particularly at a later stage in your life. And you also follow there's another guy in here that you follow, but he's not in the synopsis. What is his name? Is it Alex? I don't remember his name. It's not Alex at all. Cameron. There's also a guy in here, Cameron, and how he connects to the story you find out through Marcellus. Anyways, it's just a lovely little time, and it deals with some topics that aren't easy necessarily, like loss and trauma and aging, that sort of thing, but it doesn't deal with anything so heavy that it makes the character of the octopus seem like a comedic factor. He fits in, he deserves a part in the story, and I really liked it. It makes me, because I enjoyed this so much, makes me very curious about the book Pod that's been put up for the Women's Prize in Fiction, because it is apparently told in the perspective of dolphins, which is just very interesting. So anyways, I look forward to reading that one, but I very much enjoyed this one, and I think if you like a little bit of whimsy without it being magic, this could definitely be something worth looking into, and I would recommend it. It seems to be growing in popularity, so if you're a library reader, I'm not sure what your wait time is going to be, but I got mine pretty quickly, which was nice. Okay, we're going to read this. No, I'm not. I'm going to write about this, and then it's 2:30. Maybe we'll take a coffee break. Make a coffee, keep going. I think that sounds good. Two more left. I did have 3 more on the pile, but I realized one of them is a DNF, and that is The Furrows by Namwali Serpell. I couldn't finish this book. I just didn't like it. I didn't understand what was happening and was not in the mood to fight through and figure out what was going on. Just wasn't a book for me, so I don't need to write about that. I have Horse by Geraldine Brooks left, and Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. So, but I am actually going to take a bit of a break. I'm going to have my drink, I'm going to have my apple crisp, and then I will be back to talk the last 2 books. That is the plan. Yes. Here we go. I took a break for longer than I intended, but, oh, well, okay. It's fine. I've got 2 books left. I'm going to talk about them now, and then I'm just going to write, because I still have to figure out pictures and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, there's still some things figuring out, but Horse by Geraldine Brooks. This has 3 different timelines in it. You're following Garrett in the earliest timeline. You are following Jess and Theo in the present day timeline, which is about 2019. And then you are following Martha in the 1950s. You don't meet Martha until maybe 2/3 of the way through the book. So the two main storylines is Garrett's and then Jess and Theo's. Garrett he works with horses, and he ends up raising and grooming and training one of the best American racehorses ever. His name is Lexington. And then in the 2019s, there's a connection based on a piece of art and a painting that is of Lexington and a skeleton of this horse that has kind of been forgotten, and about how it came to be where it is, and the Smithsonian is involved. It's a really interesting book, actually. I quite enjoyed it. I have never read anything by Geraldine Brooks before, and I'm definitely going to look into some of her other works because she seems to be quite a popular author. But it's a historical fiction, and it is a little bit more... one of the very large themes in this is racism. Garrett is a slave. He is not in the fields or anything, but he is an owned person, and Theo is a black man, and so the theme of racism is very, very prevalent in this book. So it's not a light, fluffy horse book by any stretch of the imagination, but that is the thing that connects them all is this horse Lexington. But I quite enjoyed it. It is a little dry. It was maybe a little longer than I think it needed to be, but I was still very interested in the whole thing. So I am very glad to have picked it up. This is another one of those books that was on a lot of people's predicted books for the long list, for the Women's Prize in Fiction long list, and it did not make it, but that is the reason I picked it up, is because a lot of people were talking about it in that capacity. And then we have Just to the Nicest Couple by Mary I keep forgetting her name. Mary Kubica. I apologize. I don't know how to say that. Kubica. Maybe I'm making it more complicated than it needs to be. And this is about a couple. Their names are Lily and Christian, and they are friends with another couple, Jake and Nina, and Jake goes missing. And what happens? I was not a fan of this book, but I am struggling with thrillers right now, just in that I'm finding there aren't any original thrillers anymore. Like, I'm just bored with them a lot of the time. This one, it was one of those ones that reminded me, this is what my problem was. You know, in a sitcom, particularly the sitcoms of like the 90s and 2000s, Seinfeld, Friends, that sort of thing, one little bit of miscommunication creates all the drama for the 30 minutes. And it's like all you had to do was clarify or not jump to conclusions and storm out. That is the whole basis of the drama of this book. I just found it to be so unnecessary. And so because I thought the entire conflict was unnecessary, I had a lot of trouble appreciating this book in itself. But if that is something you can get past, then you may enjoy this. However, I wasn't a big fan of this, but there you have it. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to say about that one in terms of writing about it. However, those are the two books that's left. 2 more to go. I really do need to figure out photos and stuff. That might be a project for tomorrow. We will see how the rest of the day plays out. Let's go finish writing 2 more book reviews. They're not book reviews. I call them reader reactions because I'm not doing a thorough analysis of any of these books. I'm just writing what I think about them, and they're tiny little things, but they're fun to do. We did it. I wrote them all. It's not like this is a mentally taxing activity, but when you get out of the habit of writing and typing, it really can take its toll on you, and that's where I'm at. There is one more thing I wanted to say about this book. First of all, is anybody else out there in the thrillers are just not thrilling anymore category? I'm really struggling to find good ones, so if you know of any, please let me know. But that's not what I wanted to say. What is with lately the thrillers using the there's a character that can't see faces properly thing? Like, when did that become just an expected part of a story? And I think it is such a lazy way to try to add tension, because it doesn't add tension. I just think it's stupid. Anyways, that's my rant on that. As I was writing the review about this, I remembered that that was a thing, and I remember rolling my eyes when I realized it was a thing. Okay, that is my book blog vlog. It's probably super chaotic, but it is what it is. And I wanted to talk about the books that I was writing out, and I wanted to get back into the habit of writing on my blog, which is obviously, as I said earlier, it's been a while. So I hope everybody has had a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.